We are happy to have you tuned to us on CRBC 105.5 Paradise FM to listen to your weekly program, Preventive Health. This program gives you tips on how to prevent diseases. This week, we will look at colon cancer and a test. It is a disease of the large intestine.
It's important people know that colorectal cancer is not a fiction, it's real. It's affecting people. The second thing is it can affect anybody. Once you're above 50, you could be at risk of colon cancer. It's cheaper for people to know what is wrong with them, on time before it gets to a kind of stage whereby they will have to spend more money.
Our guest is Mr. Sunday Clement, a certified lifestyle expert, Harvard Medical School, Boston. He is with Asukpo Diagnostic and Medical Center, opposite College of Health Tech, Mary Slessor Avenue, Calabar. Sir, you're welcome to the program. And I am Blessing Eba.
Get ready to be blown away.
You're welcome once again. The topic is colorectal cancer and test. So what is colorectal cancer?
Yes, colorectal cancer is the cancer that occurs in the colon or rectum. The colon is the large intestine. Every human has the small intestines, and we have the large intestine. This intestine, the large intestine, which is referred to as the colon, is made up of layers of cells. And at any point in time, there could be misbehavior of these cells by multiplying themselves abnormally. When that occurs, you say the person has colon cancer, or the rectum. If it's the up part of the colon, you say the person has a colorectal cancer.
And then what are the incidents of this? Of
colorectal cancer? Yes, colorectal cancer is known to be the second largest leading cancer of death around the world. It affects mainly men. But the problem is that colorectal cancer happens more in people above the age of 50. So that means the risk factor increases with age.
What does colorectal cancer affect?
Colorectal cancer can affect men or women, but it's more common in men. It's, like I said before, affects anyone above 50 years of age. Anybody above 50 years of age can be a victim of colorectal cancer, or someone who has an incidence or family history of colon cancer. There's a tendency that if someone down the line may have colorectal cancer.
What are the causes of colorectal cancer?
It has not been confirmed what causes colorectal cancer. Let me just give you a brief of how colorectal cancer comes to be. Now, in each of us, we have a colon, and there's what we call polyps. These polyps grow with age, and at 50 years of age, polyps can just start growing in the tubes. The intestines are just like tubes where food passes, water passes along, and all that. So as we take our food from the esophagus, it goes down to the stomach. From the stomach, it goes down to the small intestine. From the small intestines, it goes to the large intestine, which is the colon. Then it goes down to the rectum before it's passed out through the anus. So now along this tube, you can have polyps growing up. They are small like kind of cells. They can just start growing up, pop up on their own. Medical science is still subjecting it to some kind of research to find out what is actually causing the growth of these polyps. But till today, it has not been reported what is actually causing it.
Sir, what are the preventive measures to this colorectal cancer?
It's important people know that colorectal cancer is not a fiction, it's real. It's affecting people. The second thing is it can affect anybody. Once you're above 50, you could be at risk of colon cancer. And the most unfortunate part of this is the symptoms are not defined. So it's not like any other kind of cancer that you could easily have symptoms of certain kinds of things that really tells you that you have polyps growing in the colon. So there are no symptoms. The person is as normal as the way it should. So preventive measures that we recommend that people should look out for is to go for screening, general screening. And the most common is what is called colonoscopy. Because recently in America, it's now been kind of constitutionalized for American citizens. Once you are 50 years of age, either you like it or not, you must go for colonoscopy. But fine, around here in Africa, we don't really take our health too seriously, and people like, oh, look, I'm fine as long as I don't have symptoms, I don't have any problem, and so screening of the colon is very important. So what we recommend is people should go for colonoscopy.
What is colonoscopy?
Now, this colonoscopy is a kind of equipment that is used to examine the colon. So the colon is divided into 4 parts. We have the descending colon, we have the transverse, we have the ascending, and we have the sigmoid colon. So where this equipment is used, it's like a probe. It goes in there and checks everywhere to ensure that polyps are not growing. Now, polyps can grow in people's colon, but it may not necessarily translate into cancer. But in most cases, like 60% of cases of polyps, it usually translates into cancer cells. So that's why it's very important. So, and colonoscopy is what we use, to detect that. And early screening, if someone detects it on time, goes for screening like once in 5 years, then the person has a very high chance of getting it out of the system, because the polyps can actually be removed before they turn into cancer cells. Now, if the person probably didn't know that there's polyps there and eventually turns into cancer, if the person detects it on time, it can also be cured. So that's a good part. So it's all about going for colonoscopy at a very early stage. So it's very important. Then the second thing I will mention is our lifestyle. It's important people pay attention to what they eat. So it's very important. So you take a lot of fruits, take a lot of vegetables, do a lot of exercise, watch our weight. Watching of weight is very important, and reduce the intake of alcohol, because alcohol has been reported to increase the risk of colon cancer. Then as well as avoid red meat, such as pork meat, dog meat. People like taking some of these things, but they should take it in minimal quantity, and avoid processed meat. We have this kind of meat in cans, all these things around people eat. It could really be part of what can be carcinogenic, and because these things goes into the system and they all go through the colon. So at one time or the other, some of these things can get stick to the walls of the colon and become a problem. Like it has been well defined and reported that assorted meat, all this kind of meat that you eat that contains a lot of oil, the fat this meat contains tends to stick to the walls of the colon. Over time, they can develop into polyps, and eventually they can get translated into cancer.
This is CRBC 105.5 FM, and you're listening to Preventive Health.
Prevention is better than cure.
All right, in case you've just joined us, the program is Preventive Health on CRBC 105.5 Paradise FM. And we are talking on colorectal cancer. And we have Mr. Sunday Clement on the program. What are the symptoms of a colorectal cancer?
Yes, colorectal cancer can present no symptoms, like less or no symptoms. But the common ones one should look out for is having to see blood in the stool. Somebody going to the toilet now and discover that there are some traces of blood in the feces, and that's the most common. Having some kind of irritations of bowel, inflammation of the bowel. These are some of the symptoms that people need to look out for if they have polyps. Now, fine, it may not be cancer at that stage, but it might be as a result of polyps growing in the colon.
Okay, how is colon cancer test done? How is it done?
The colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Colonoscopy is done by the insertion of the probes into the colon. It goes in there so to check the entire length of the colon for polyps, if there are polyps in the colon. So the probes goes in there to check different aspects of the colon, like I've mentioned before. The transverse, we have the sigmoid, we have the descending colon, we have the transverse, and we have the ascending. So it goes in there to check each of these areas, and that's what is done. We use an endoscopy machine to do that. So we have a special probe which is used for colonoscopy.
Experts say the following complications may be experienced after colorectal test.
It can cause constipation for a few days.
You will have a feeling of emptying your bowel.
You will feel cramping.
You might see small amounts of blood in your first bowel movement.
You will feel discomfort because of the air put into the colon, but not painful.
Okay, what are the preparations necessary for these tests?
Okay, the preparation depends on the kind of test that the patient is being recommended to do, and I'm going to say that there are several different screening tests which can be done to find polyps or colorectal cancer. Now, the first I'm going to talk about is the eye sensitivity stool test. So the patient just needs to bring stool in the morning, is what is being used. We analyze it to find out if there are some abnormality in the stool. That's the first thing that is being done. And for the colonoscopy itself, it's usually recommended that the patient should come fasting, shouldn't eat. Like the patient can take dinner early the previous day before the procedure. Should go for the procedure fasting so that there won't have to be any form of disturbances while the procedure is being carried out.
Okay, what if the person eventually eats ignorantly without knowing?
Then the patient will have to be reappointed. They have to be rebooked so that the patient can come well prepared for the procedure. And it's not fatal, it's not a life-threatening kind of procedure, as long as whosoever gastroenterologist doing it is competent. So it's not something that people need to be afraid of, but it's important because it's cheaper for people to know what is wrong with them, on time before it gets to a kind of stage whereby they will have to spend more money. Once you are 50 years of age, it's privileged information for you to know that you may have polyps growing up in you, and you may never get to know because there are no symptoms. So the only way you can find out is to go and do a colonoscopy before this polyps grows into cancer.
That means everybody is likely to have this colorectal cancer.
Everyone who has a colon, who has a large intestine, has the tendency to have polyps growing up and has the tendency to have colon cancer. That's a fact.
What are your parting words?
Colonoscopy is very important, and it is expected that everyone should do colonoscopy. Once you are above 50 years of age, you should do it within 5 years. So it's a kind of procedure you do this year, then after like 5 years, you can repeat it to know if there's any group of polyps in the colon.
Listeners, we've been talking with Mr. Sunday Clement, a certified lifestyle expert, Harvard Medical School, Boston. He is with Asuko Diagnostic and Medical Center, opposite College of Health Tech, Mary Slessor Avenue, Calabar. If you wish to contribute in this program, please don't call. Text us through this number, 080-3675-5958. I'll take it again, 080-3675-5985. That's the much we can take in this week's edition of Preventive Health on CRBC 105.5 Paradise FM. On behalf of the producer Stella Ifeom, I am Blessing Eba, saying bye for now.